Hello, everyone. It's Thursday night. Yes, and I forgot. Is today the first day that we're going into the extended phase two again? You know, that we're going in and out so frequently that I've almost forgotten because we are ready to pivot anytime. Anyway, welcome. Thank you for joining me. It's another episode of Heart to Heart brought to you by Mother's Work. Those of you joining us for the first time, Heart to Heart is a series of learning experiences on the many challenges that we mothers face as we go through motherhood. I'm your host, Sharon Wong, and we're hoping that by sharing, we are able to inspire one another, bond together, and that we are never alone. There's always someone sharing our journey with us. So, here at Mother's Work, we're not just a mother and baby retailer anymore. It may have started that way, but we are now a very purposeful business, partnering women as they journey into motherhood. We're here to make motherhood a little less overwhelming. And I think if you walk out of Mother's Work feeling less overwhelmed, then that is my success story. So tonight, together with fertilitysupport.sg, a group of IVF warrior moms, we have another IVF warrior mom, Grace Tan, a mother to a 2-year-old and with a baby on the way. She is going to join us and share her journey into motherhood with us. So let me invite Grace. Let's see. How's everyone coping though? Are we okay? I'm trying very, very hard to stay very, very positive. Hello, Grace.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
How are
Yeah,
you?
it's the first day of the unfortunately first day of the heightened phase two heightened alert.
You know, I forget. I was like, is it today? Was it yesterday? Or is it tomorrow? But you know, we have to pivot so quickly every single time. But we're
Yeah,
ready.
yeah, anytime. Now nothing's certain. Yeah.
Exactly. Uncertain times, and we just have to be ready for everything. No, so I was just introducing you. So Grace,
Mhm.
maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself. You're a mom to a 2-year-old, right?
Yes.
Your daughter is 2?
So my daughter is basically I went through the whole IVF cycle to have her. And then now I'm currently pregnant. I did another second round of stimulations, but it's actually considered like my fourth cycle because I had frozen transfers that failed earlier as well. So currently I'm pregnant, thankfully. But
And
it's not easy also with
yeah.
the first one.
So the first one is 2, and you are due in 2 weeks or any time now.
I'm actually 36 weeks now. Yeah, so
Okay.
in a way it's anytime, yeah.
Yeah. So Grace, IVF. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I hear more and more, and of course the
Mm-hmm.
fertilitysupport.sg, and I have a lot more younger friends now, and they're all going through IVF, and I have
Mm-hmm.
a better understanding, if you like. And to me,
Mm-hmm.
right, and don't judge me, guys, but to me, it was like, oh, okay, we have fertility issues, but we have IVF to help us. So
Mm-hmm.
don't judge me. I take that back. I would never think that it is that simple, right? It isn't. It. You guys have to go through so much, and I'm glad you're happy to come out and share about this whole journey. This IVF journey to me is like I still don't understand the whole because it is each time I talk to a mom who went through IVF, I'm like, wow, super mom to have to go through all this to become a mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when did you find out you had fertility issues, Grace?
Okay, so basically after we got married, I got married and then we were trying for about 6 months, and I kept, and I was like, why, why couldn't I conceive? My periods are very regular. I should be able to conceive. And basically IVF also never crossed my mind, but we were like trying for 6 months, and then it dawned upon me that something could be wrong. So I actually told my gynae then, I said, I would like to do some checks, fertility checks. So I sent my husband for sperm analysis. And then I did a HSG because I actually had, before I was married, I did a surgery to unblock my tubes. So it did cross my mind that maybe my tubes could be blocked again. So I went for a HSG, and then true enough, my tube was blocked. So I decided to see a fertility specialist, and then I brought my results to the doctor, and the doctor said like, yes, in a way I had two choices. One was to do surgery again, and the other choice was to just go straight into IVF. And I know that surgery is not 100%, even though you can go through surgery and unblock the tube, but you may not be able to conceive naturally, So I decided
Anyway.
that, yeah, maybe it's not to waste time. Maybe I should just do IVF. Then I
No, but
realized,
how old were you? How old
okay,
did you when you got married? How old were you?
okay, I got married at 33, but when I started my IVF cycle, I was going to be 35. So I was
So
very, in a way, I was very anxious because I
yes.
felt like I must get pregnant before 35, because that's what they say, that you have to conceive your first child before 35. And I was, in a way, and even the doctors also tell you that, he tells me, oh, you're not young, you should straight away just do IVF. Don't wait, really, don't wait. So just do it.
Because
So
that's quite interesting, because a lot of in fact, some of my gynae friends were saying that a lot of women don't think about it after they got married. So they just, plod along, and if I get pregnant,
mhm.
I get pregnant. They don't even think to check about the fertility, right?
Mm.
So the earlier you check, obviously, the better,
Yes,
because our
yes,
eggs have a certain age, I
yes.
guess. So actually, that was quite conscientious of you to think, look, I need to go for a fertility check.
Yeah, and especially for my condition, if I continue, because usually they tell you 1 year, after trying 1 year, then you go and check. But I realized that if I waited so long, then I'm less trying in vain. So I know for me it was like, okay, 6 months. So I kind of gave myself like a time limit and say, okay, 6 months, and then I will just go and get myself checked, get my husband checked, and then hopefully we know what is the next step.
And that's when you found out. So the tubes were blocked.
So I decided that, okay, maybe I have to do IVF. That was like kind of a good thing for me. So I didn't have to make that decision, whether I should continue trying, go for, or the surgery option, which I didn't want. So it was kind of decided, yes, okay, I should do IVF. And then it came to a point where I had to decide whether I wanted to go to a private or go to government hospitals. So that's where I tried to talk to other friends, and it's good to have like a support group to find out more, like especially if you're going to embark on this journey, and then you're not sure, where to go, who to see. So sometimes just hearing from other ladies, but again, everybody's journey is different. Everyone's
Yeah.
experience is also different. So for me, I decided to go private.
But
Yeah.
before we talk about that, I know because I've got a lot of questions on that. But before, can you explain a little bit, how do our tubes get blocked?
Okay,
Do
for
you
my
know?
case, I had endometriosis. So I knew this already way before. I had another surgery even much earlier, and I had issues like fibroids and ovarian cysts. So I knew I had endometriosis, and that's one of the reasons that your tubes can be blocked. So
Okay.
sometimes during the HSG, which is an X-ray, they are able to actually flush out the unblock the tube. They can actually flush and unblock. But my
Did you
case,
try?
yeah, they did. They tried, and it was so painful. So even though I took painkillers, it was like cramping, and I couldn't, they couldn't flush it out. So I knew it was difficult unless you go through surgery, which I don't think it's the solution.
And so there is no way you can, because of that, there is no way you can conceive naturally.
Yeah,
The
so
only way is to do IVF. Is that correct?
I totally skipped the IUI option as well because there no point that I do IUI. So in a way, it was quite clear cut that I had to do IVF.
And so
Yeah.
you really want to be a mom, you really want to have a baby, and the only way to carry the baby or to conceive is to go through IVF.
Yeah, I've always wanted to have children. So it's something that I desire, and in a way, if this was the only way, I would do it. So I finally accepted the fact that I had to do it because initially I really didn't think I would. Like my periods are regular, and then I found out actually that I didn't ovulate every month. Although I had my periods every month, but I don't ovulate every month. So it makes it even more difficult to conceive
Yes.
naturally.
So then you went, checked it out, and the IVF process, how was that for you? Because every journey is different, like you mentioned earlier.
The first, so when I started doing the whole thing, I was like, I firstly, okay, I'm not too afraid of injections. So I think I just they sit you down, they run through the whole process with you. I think that it's good that the clinic does that. And then of course they run through the finances with you. They have this counseling, they call it counseling session. So you have to sit down with them, with the nurses, and then they will run through everything, the procedures and then the cost. And then after that you sign the forms and then you can start. So
This is with the general hospital, right? So first off, you go see I guess our general hospital, what do you call it? Public hospital,
yeah,
right?
so for me, I did it in a private clinic, but if you do want to go to a government hospital, then you either go to a polyclinic, get a referral, or you can go to a government hospital as a private patient. So actually there are
But
grants.
yeah, so I know, but why, if you how did you research? I mean, the decision to do private hospital or government hospital, right?
Yeah. So it was,
Aside from cost, right? I'm sure there's a huge difference between private and general, but aside from cost, what triggered that decision to just go straight to research about doing it in a private hospital? Time? To
yes.
save
So I
time?
think for me was really about the time. So I talked to friends who have done the process at a government hospital, and then I asked them, what's your experience like? So I know in the government hospital, you keep going back for a lot of appointments. So they have to, and then there are some friends who actually quit their jobs just to go through the whole cycle, because you have to keep going back for checks, going back for to scan your follicles, do blood tests, and also I think I still heard of friends who there's a long waiting like time, to before their first appointment. So depending on the availability of that month, whether there is a slot for you to start. And I had a friend who had to wait like 2-3 months just to get a first appointment. And then depending on your condition also, they may require you to like do IUI first. But maybe like for my case, maybe I didn't have to do that. So I didn't really want to go through um, the whole thing again, like go to a polyclinic or just go to another doctor, because so actually the fertility doctor was already my second opinion. And then I told myself, I think I can still use my MediSave, so I'm just going to maybe just skip the grants and just start, because my doctor told me you can actually start your IVF the very next cycle. The next time you have your menses, you can start immediately. You don't have to wait so long. So I decided, okay, I will just eat into my savings and just try this route.
Is that a lot of savings? What's the difference?
Okay,
Just
so
ballpark between a government hospital. I mean, obviously you can use MediSave, but still a lot of people would say that I can use MediSave for something else too, right? So
mhm,
given an option, um, Of course, it's great that we can have options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's
So,
that difference?
okay, so just to like, my first cycle cost me about 15,000 before Medisave. So, and then again, it varies from person to person because the cost, they will usually tell you a range. They actually told me between 12K to 16K. So that was what they told me when I had the counseling session with them. But mine came up to about 15,000, and I could use about 6,000 Medisave. There's also a maximum amount that you can use for Medisave for each cycle, and the grand overall is 15,000. So you can have many cycles, but they cap each cycle. So that first cycle, I could use $6,000. So end up I had to fork out that $9,000 cash. And again, it varies from clinic to clinic. So there are other private clinics that may charge more, and it really depends on your medication as well. So actually the bulk of the cost is the medication. So if you require a stronger dose, then you end up paying a lot more. So actually my second cycle, I did pay even more than my first cycle.
So you did not conceive during the first cycle.
So
When
the
you say you
first,
pay a second cycle, or you're talking about this
okay,
current pregnancy?
so this current pregnancy is
Right.
my second stimulation. And then
Okay.
I also recall my friends who went to government, if because of the grants, they can pay as low as nothing to to maybe at the most $2,000. So it depends on, again, did they do like certain checks, certain fertility tests. So but the cost is really quite a big difference. If you
Difference.
and we're
Yeah.
talking about one cycle, when one cycle means your stimulations to the egg retrieval to the embryo transfer. So that's like one full cycle.
So I don't know this. Maybe you do. So in Singapore, you can do IVF through our government hospital, and there are grants. Do
Yes.
we know that this is pretty common across all countries, or is it quite special for us? I know we're very lucky, by the way. I want to put it out there, guys. We are quite lucky to be in Singapore. So I'm just wondering, in terms of medical, like IVF, I know we can go to public hospitals and we get grants, but is that the same overseas? Do you know? Other countries?
Um, I
Or is this something that's always
Okay,
private?
what I've read online is that, okay, I don't think they have the grants like us, but sometimes their insurance can cover.
Ah,
Yeah, so
medical health insurance.
yes. Or so for us, we don't have insurance that can cover. There are actually, I found out, but the premium that you're going to pay is exorbitant, and you have to have like a 1 year wait time. So a lot of times it's not worth it. It's not worth it to pay that amount of premium to cover the cost.
So you might as well just pay. Now that you've gone through 2 IVF cycles, I guess, if you
Yeah,
could
so I
call it
went
that,
through 2 stimulation cycles.
2 stimulation
Yeah.
cycles, and and you're part of this fertilitysupport.sg group. Now, have you spoken to a lot of other moms who did the IVF through the public hospitals? Do
Yes.
you
We actually,
regret not going to the public hospital?
I would say, not really. I
Okay.
mean, if I was younger, I probably would have taken the government route because I think there would be time, I could go, I could wait, but because I felt that time wasn't on my side, and I needed to, in a way, quickly conceive, so I decided that, yeah, and that private was a little bit more flexible as well. So there are some procedures like I could do in private, they don't offer it at the government hospital. So there's a bit
What's
of
that?
flexibility. So like one example would be that I did this treatment called intralipid. So it actually suppresses your immune system so that your body doesn't reject the embryos. But in a government hospital, they don't actually do this at all. So it does vary, and I think that going to private is like you see the same doctor all the time, and then you are like closely watched. And then if you are a subsidized patient at a government hospital, sometimes your junior doctor scanning you. So I think the experience is a bit different, but I guess it's also because of the cost.
Yeah, I think if you have options, right? If we all have options, we rather make sure that we know what we're getting, right? Because I have this problem too when I go to general hospital is that I'm seeing a new doctor all the time and they're just reading my case from those few scribble, and I'm like, do you know everything? Do you understand what what all the issues are? And I understand that, especially when there's so much more after they inject and you're pregnant, right? So then we talk about that whole journey. So I know
Yeah.
it's not that simple to say, look, I have eggs, they inject the embryo, I'm pregnant. Woohoo! It's still another
Yeah.
what,
There's so many
40
hurdles
weeks.
to cross before you can even get to being positive. I can run
Okay,
you
tell us
through.
tell us about that. Yes.
Okay, so before we start, we have to do some blood tests. We have to do our checks before we could even start the IVF. And usually that I think it's quite all right. So like on the day of my visit, I could do the blood test. That's why I could start straight away on my next menses. And then let's say you start the IVF, you have the medications, and then one hurdle is really some people just don't react well to the medications. So if you don't if your body doesn't react well, then you don't get enough follicles. So the follicles is another issue because you need the follicles in terms of numbers and size. So many small follicles is also not very good, and you don't just want one or two follicles. You want more. Basically, you want more eggs. And even if you have a follicle, it might be empty. It might not even have eggs. So there's a lot
Oh,
of issues like along the way. If you feel like this stage, you basically can have to restart your whole cycle again. So there are ladies that maybe they have to stop. They didn't get enough follicles, or they're after the egg retrieval, there's no eggs at all, and then they go back to square one, and then they start injections again. So
so
that's
wait, tell me at what stage you can be hopeful to say, woohoo, I'm on to the next hurdle.
I think I think that is so okay, so let's say you got your follicles and you have your egg like a certain number. You go for your egg retrieval. And during the egg retrieval, if let's say you get 10 eggs, it doesn't mean you have 10 embryos. You will get 10 embryos. It doesn't mean that. So I'll give you an
Okay.
example. For me, I actually, on my first cycle, I had 18 eggs. But you need the eggs to be matured. So I had nine matured eggs. So the numbers kind of like halved. And then even if they are matured, they may not fertilize. So I had 9 eggs, and then I had eight fertilized and for 8 fertilized eggs. And not all fertilized eggs will become embryos. So from there I had 8, and then only 6 became embryos. And then you're hoping that these 6 will be able
But
to,
six is pretty good, no?
I think it's good for
6 is a
one.
good number, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm thankful I have 6. I mean, I've heard ladies who have like only 1 or 2, so I'm really thankful
But you
for
only
6.
really
Yeah.
need one, though, to be honest, right? You really only need one good one, and
Yeah.
we're
So
there, right?
in a way, that's out of the 6, I had only 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So and then with the 6 embryos, you need to grow them into like day 2, day 3, or blastocyst, which is a day 5. So some embryos don't make it to even day 5. And then after that, there's another issue of genetic viability, whether they're viable. And we really don't know unless you do further testing. So whether those 6 embryos were of good quality is also another big question. And you won't know until, you do your transfer, and then
Oh
you
my
go through
gosh.
the whole thing. And then there's implantation issues. So your lining has to be of a right
Ready.
thickness. Yes, and then they'll scan you, they will check. Of course, they give you, if you are doing like a medicated transfer, they'll give you medication to thicken your lining. And then after that, they'll check, and then of course, whether the embryos implant is really like something you are totally not in control of. You will have no idea whether they will implant. You're just hoping for the best. And really every stage is like you hope to pass. You're like playing a game. You want to level up, level up. So
So in
it's
your first IVF stimulation, I guess, or cycle, let's call it, at which month were you taking a deep breath and said, okay, I'm pregnant and I'm going to have a baby? When did you embrace that positive thought instead of worrying about the next stage, the next stage, and the next stage? When is that positive vibe that hits you?
I think with each stage you get a bit hopeful. So
Okay.
once you know, like, okay, I've reached the blood test, especially the blood tests, when you find out that you are pregnant, I think that already kind of like gives you that hope that you can have a pregnancy, a viable pregnancy. But of course, then again, there's that first trimester anxiety. So and I guess it's the same even if you conceive naturally.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think
The first
getting to the
trimester anxiety.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why we don't tell people we're pregnant for the first trimester.
Yeah,
Anything can happen.
true, true. So I think for me it would be like if I could get a positive at my blood test, I think that was already like one milestone, one area that you kind of like conquered. And then after that is really hoping that that is a viable, pregnancy. The eggs are the genetic quality already. So that is when you try to. So during the scan, the 6 week scan, you will try to find the baby's heartbeat, but then again there are a lot of other issues, that could could happen along the way. So, and I guess most of us will by the end of our first trimester, then I think you can like heave a sigh of relief. But my
And then
second
you go through,
pregnancy
right?
wasn't. So
Wait,
this
so
pregnancy
and
was,
then wait, let's not talk about this pregnancy first. We're still on the first pregnancy. So after that, it was a easy pregnancy. Can you say that you just go through normal pregnancy once you feel like uh, the
yeah. So
pregnancy is stable?
yeah, so I think so for me, I was actually bleeding. I was spotting from the fifth week. So I couldn't wait until the 6th week to get a scan. I went for a scan already at the 5th week. And then there's also the issues where your hormones you have to have extra support. So I think a lot of the IVF ladies, we have to have extra progesterone support. I had to get
Yeah.
injections. So I had weekly injections until week 8 just to stabilize the pregnancy. So that was also like a cause of concern, because you are bleeding and then you are hoping that at the same time you don't want to lose this baby. It's like I reached so far. I really don't want to that you don't want anything to bad to happen in a way.
So were you worried the whole time?
I think the first one I because everything was very new to me, I kind of like just went with the flow. So this week, okay, go back for scan, take your jab, then watch out for any more bleeding, and then if you hear the heartbeat, you're a bit more reassured. Um, First one, actually, I felt that I was less anxious than the second one, because the second cycle, you know what is happening already. You know the stages, and then, and me being older, I have, a lot more complications being older as well. So every stage in a way, like, when you go and see the doctor and then you see the scan, sometimes it's assuring to see the heartbeat. It's assuring to know, like, okay, I have, every week it gets better and better.
Now I wanted to ask, so I know that women go through a lot, but I know that the husbands go through a lot too, right? They're there to support you the whole time, and they have to be checked too because it could be their issue and not just the women's issue, which is, what we find out when you talk about fertility. It's not always the women's problem.
Yeah.
But when you were going through all this, who actually did your injection for you? You did it yourself, or your husband was there right by your side?
My husband, because I couldn't I couldn't do the injections myself. And I really admire the ladies who do it themselves, because for me, I can't. In fact, I don't really like to see needles being pierced. So I made my husband do it. I think it was a way, like how he is involved in the whole process. And then when he does it, then I will look at him doing it. So I'm glad that he is involved in that way. And I think he also told me, like, it's as much as he knows that we women are the ones really going through everything and the whole process, the egg extraction, the embryo transfer, but just all he could do was really just to be there for me. So going to all the appointments, even though he doesn't have to be there, he will try to be with me. He'll fetch me there, stay with me, go through the whole all the appointments, and just being with me throughout. I think that really helped me in going through such an emotional journey in a way.
So I want to ask, so it is really an emotional roller coaster.
Yes.
Right? You went through all that. You know what it means. You know what it feels like to have uncertainty every stage of the way.
Yes.
Why number 2 again?
I think it's always been my heart's desire to have more than one. And I think that is like every, all of us, we have different goals in our life. And I really wanted because I grew up in a family with lots of siblings. Yeah. So I
was going to say, I never get phone calls, but hello. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
so you were saying that you grew up in a family with siblings and you wanted to have more than one.
Yes. And I love children, so I really wanted another one for, to me it was like a complete family. Like if I could have 2, that is my complete family. So I decided that, let's try again for another one. And it also wasn't an easy decision. It wasn't easy. We even tried naturally. I even went back for another HSG test again. Because I was really, really hoping I didn't have to do another stimulation cycle, with all the injections again. But then again, I know of many women who have done rounds and rounds of stimulations as well. So I told myself I have to try. At least I know that if I've done my best, and if let's say nothing works out or it fails, at least I know that I tried. Rather than down the years, I regret and then I keep saying that, oh, I should have done this. If only I did this. So I didn't want to be in that state.
But I think you women are so strong, to be honest. Like I spoke to Rohaida as well. And she also did it 2 times. The first round, like you said, is emotional roller coaster, is anxiety throughout pregnancy. And then you're willing to do it again. And you forget, right? So someone said to me that, when you talk to women and you say, how was your pregnancy? They just say, oh, it was fine. Because they forget all the difficult things that happen during pregnancy and they just move on. Do you think that we women just move on and you think, okay, we have a goal to achieve. I want to have my second baby. We're just going to do it.
I think women are very strong. I think we are the strongest sex. Yeah.
But
and then to go through everything again, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But I guess with the support, with the support with my, finding initially my husband object to the second going through the whole cycle again. But I think once he knew that I really wanted it, and then with the support, and also with friends who are also going through the same thing as you, and you kind of like encourage each other. I think that also helps a lot.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the fertility support.sg group. So you joined that because you guys wanted to share, right? Because there's a lot of IVF warriors out there and you guys wanted to share your journey. Has that helped you and people that you know?
I think being in a support group gives me like a better picture of things, because right now, like, where I only went to one clinic, and I have this condition, and then you hear about other people about their conditions and what they have done. So in a way, I also learn. If not for the support group, I wouldn't have known about like taking supplements, starting supplements before you do IVF, because the first round I just went straight into it. I didn't even do anything. So, so at least when you have like a support group, they will share things like, okay, maybe you can try this, you can take that, and a lot of what we do, what this or the whole journey, it's sometimes the things that we do are really try and error, because
Yeah.
it's not certain. I cannot pinpoint a success strategy. So I learned about acupuncture, and then I went for acupuncture. The ladies were sharing, okay, you can do acupuncture for fertility. So I was like, okay, just try. Whatever I can try, whatever I can do within my means, just do it. So that was so, in a way, I learned through what the ladies have shared. And then sometimes I just want a second opinion, and I just want an advice like, okay, should I do this or should I not? So I actually one question I said, should I do another cycle again?
But
So
is there actually, before you embark upon this journey, I think this will answer the next question that someone just asked us. Is there any pre-IVF diet to follow or to get your body ready for IVF? Is there such a thing?
the doctors will tell you to like okay, like my doctor was like, yes, you can take coenzyme 10, and of course, take your folic acid and all that. So to them it's like, yes, try, go ahead, these are things that if you can try. And of course the TCM will tell you, okay, you should take certain type of food, your husband should also take certain type of food. So in a way, and of course, whether you do IVF or not, there are certain things that, yes, you need to change your lifestyle, you need to sleep more, if don't smoke, don't take alcohol. So these are the very general things that they will tell you right from the start. If you're trying to conceive, these are the things that you should do. So these are also where I learned, I also didn't know myself, like, okay, I should eat more of these, or I should take this supplement. So having that support group also helps, because through their sharing, I also learn.
So do you guys meet regularly or you just share? Do you have like a community of IVF moms that, to share your experiences with those probably embarking upon this journey or?
So usually we have the Facebook forum, and they can like post questions, and then anyone can answer, because sometimes if I'm not going through that, I cannot comment as well. So what we are trying to do is like get more doctors on board to share. That's why we have the weekly live sessions. So we are
Right.
trying to make it that it's not, you don't have to feel like you're going through this alone. Because if you don't read up and talk to other people, or like for me, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have known a lot of things.
Right.
So at least when I read through people's stories, and then I learn that, oh, okay, you can do this, you can. So it kind of encourages me as well when I see like someone else with a similar condition as me, having a success story. I do feel encouraged that, maybe one day I could succeed as well. So I think that helps. So that's why we are trying to have more stories for whether it doesn't have to be like a success story, but a journey that you want to share. So and it also helps to let it out in a way. So
Yeah.
sometimes we
And I
have
think,
yeah.
yeah, so actually that's why we started Heart to Heart as well. We wanted women to share, I mean, regardless of their journey into motherhood, so that everyone out there, we go through the same thing. Why are we reinventing the wheels, right? So you could have, maybe you could zoom right in and say, oh, that's why. So someone keeps saying, can we share the pre-IVF diet? So obviously there is a diet that some of you know how to keep your body. I,
There is in a way because the TCM will tell you, okay, you know, these are the kind of foods that you need to take. So I think you can PM the group. They will send recently I know we had the TCM physician on board, and then she actually listed out like certain things that you can take for fertility. So usually that, and they're also very open to share some of or even like herbal soups to take, you know, before. Yeah, so actually there are a lot. So we have actually shared a bit of like what are the diets and all that you can. So you if you want, you know, you can PM us, and then I will forward you the link to the post that they shared about fertility, the diet and what to take.
So it's fertilitysupport.sg, the handle for their Instagram account. Actually, this is the same one that we are going live right now.
Yes.
So how to overcome fear and anxiety of the whole pregnancy journey, which is precisely what you were saying, right? You're scared, you're worried the whole time. Is there your second time round now? Does it make it easier?
It makes it easier in the sense that you kind of know what to expect. You basically are mentally prepared. But then again, that because every stage has its issues, like, you know, you have to overcome. So this round also, I didn't have as many eggs as before, and in the end, I've fewer embryos, and then being older also, there's the issue of having the embryos are not of good quality. So in a way, like, I think what helps me is that firstly it's knowing one that okay, whatever the outcome, I need to be brave, you know, to really take one step at a time. Because if you're, you know, sometimes it's like you really hope so much, and especially for me, I'm taking a very big risk in terms of spending so much money again. So it was like, it's like my husband like, why do you want to spend so much money when it's not even guaranteed, you know, that you will have another child? So I think it's really just trying to make the best of the whole situation, really being brave and trying to focus on the positive. And then when each stage presents you with an issue, and then you just sit back and focus on, okay, what is the next step to do? What should I do? So actually this pregnancy, I had quite a big scare in week 11. And yeah, so it was all right. Everything was this round I didn't spot as much as the first round, so it was quite all right until week 11. And then my doctor said that there could be some genetic abnormalities because of through the scan. So I think that kind of freaked me out. It was like, I come so far, and I don't even know whether I could carry on into full term. So that again, so every stage presents itself, and then you just have to embrace it and then really take it step by step. But of course, I had my days where so basically I had to decide whether I wanted to do a amniocentesis test, amnio test, where they draw your amniotic fluid. And then I cried for 2 days. I was like,
but that amniocentesis, we go through that if you are 36, I think. I remember during my time, if you're 36 years old and above, they asked to do that, to check anyway, right?
Oh, so now it's not, it's optional. They do.
Oh, really?
So I think
I mean, it was optional too. Yeah, it was optional too. But I remember that during that time, all the gynaes would recommend us to do that when you're 36 and above, to check for any genetic issue.
I think because now now we have the first trimester scans, screening. So now they call it FTS, first trimester screening. So it's
Okay.
either you do the blood test, like Harmony, Panorama. So those are screening tests. So there is the scans that you do. So I had to do this scan called an NT scan, um, which actually checks the thickness of the baby's neck. And the thickness is kind of correlated to any genetic deformities or heart defects or certain physical defects as well. So, so when I went for that, apparently I was very high risk for Down syndrome and the other trisomies. So it was like 1:5. And then, of course, my doctor said, you have a choice now, because those are just screening tests. So they always tell you high risk or low risk. So even if you do Harmony, Panorama, it's a screening test. So if you want, you can do a diagnostic test. So diagnostic tests, there are two types. One is like a CVS, where they draw the placenta blood. And the other one is the amnio test. So he said, if you want, you can go ahead and do that test. Based on your results, you can, it's up to you really. I mean, I know of friends who totally just didn't do anything. They just, whatever it is, I will accept it, so
Right.
so for them it's like, okay, no need to do any tests. But I couldn't. I was just so anxious. So I did cry for 2 days nonstop. I was like, should I do, should I not do? Because they will always tell you there is a slight risk. But
Yes.
the risk for amnio was actually to me, it was actually quite low, because it's 0.3 to 0.5%.
But
But
there
they
is
had
a
to tell,
risk,
yeah,
right?
there is a
Yeah,
risk,
they have to.
definitely, and
Yeah, that
everything.
that I remember. Yeah, that I remember. There's a risk, but I think I only did it for my third child because I was over 36 at the time, and they said they highly recommend it. It's not a compulsory, but it was highly
Mhm,
recommended.
mhm.
So did you or did you not do it?
Yes, so I did it. Because I had to have that, in a way, I had to have some answers, so I can at least mentally prepare myself, like, okay, if really I do have, there are some issues with the baby, what's my next step? At least I feel that I'm a bit more informed. I can plan and I can be a bit more mentally prepared for what's to come. So I told myself that, yeah, I will do. Although I know I was trying to like ask other ladies, have you, what your doctor say? Have you? So some of them, they were like, no, I totally don't want to do, because it's invasive. The
Ah,
needle goes
yes.
into you.
Yeah.
So some of them, they were like, no, I won't do it at all. And then, but I think it's really individual. So if
Yeah.
you I'm the type that I need the peace of mind. I need some assurance. I need to at least know the result so that I can know what to do moving forward. So I did the test at 16 weeks. Yeah. And
And,
so
and you're okay. You're okay. Once you make the decision, you're okay, right? Because it's really deciding. Now,
yes.
so this is your second IVF cycle, IVF conceived baby. I don't know what the right term is, but did you encounter any social stigma
I think
from
um,
acquaintances, from friends? Did they did they say anything? Were they supportive in general?
I think right now, in my circle of friends and people around me, they are actually quite, they feel that it's very brave of me to go through this process. So they will come and tell me like, like, okay, I'm not, in a way, like, they don't even see themselves doing this. So they are happy that in a way I'm doing it. So, and I think when I came out and shared like my story, and I openly tell my friends that, oh, okay, I'm doing this. And then I will have friends who come to me and say that, hey, I also have this issue. Should I, what should I do next? And then I will share them again on my journey. So I think it's when you open up, my friends also kind of open up with me as
Yeah.
well. They open up their issues also with me, and then I think it brings us closer, that we can talk about
Yes.
this, because sometimes we don't say. So
Yeah.
you don't say, I have no idea that you're
Yeah, I
going
think
through this. Yeah.
we are in a time where we share more. And I think because we share more, you realize that, you're not alone. And there are a
Hmm.
lot of people going through, and you're actually helping people as well, right? So
Hmm.
it leads us to the next question that someone asked, what about work? Because obviously you have to take time out, no?
Yeah. So you after you do like embryo transfer, we have a hospital leave. If we do egg retrieval, we also have hospital leave. So my close friends, very close friends, I will just tell them very openly that okay, I'm doing IVF and I have to do this. Um, if you have a good relationship with your boss, you can also explain that. And then another tip is you can just say that you have women issues. Because I had surgery for fibroids for a cyst, and I'll just say I have to take hospital leave because I have some women issues. And then they just keep quiet and then they won't ask anymore. So that was how I dealt with the situation. If like I'm not so close to this person and then they're wondering like, why are you taking such a long leave, 2 weeks. So I just say,
Oh, yeah.
just women's
Women issues.
issues. Yeah, which I have had actually 3 surgeries. I had to have a surgery before I could even do my embryo transfer because I had a lot of polyps on my lining. So my doctor
Oh,
had to do a surgery to like kind of like remove all the polyps. Yeah.
wow. What a story. I mean, you guys are so strong. I don't know what I would have done if I wasn't so lucky. Um, just so what having gone through all this and being so strong to try and have babies of your own, what value do you hold dear? I mean, to you and your husband, that you want to impart for your daughter and also your new baby.
I think it's really the resilience, to embrace the challenges. There's always going to be challenges. Is whether how do we deal with it, how do we react to it, and the values, really of resilience. Because I've seen so many women. In fact, I count myself lucky, and I think other women are probably more resilient. Those who have done rounds and rounds of stimulations before they finally get their baby, and it's amazing, to still be positive in the midst of all the darkness or the circumstances.
The
It's really,
uncertainty, right? It's
yeah.
really the uncertainty that you guys have to put up with. I mean, I mean, as it is now, just with uh, dining for two, dining for five, this uncertainty is making people go crazy. I just can't imagine how the uncertainty that you have to go
Mhm.
through for 9 months and before that as well, right?
Yeah, and it's really not certain. If it to me until the baby is out, then it's anywhere along there might be challenges, but of course
Yeah,
the probability drops. So it's it's it helps when you have that a group of ladies going through the same thing, and then really
definitely.
encouraging one another, and really just to spur one another on to have your dreams in a way, because as you know, a lot of us, we want to be mothers,
Yeah,
so I think
but
that's like our dream.
yeah, and then the hard work starts.
Yeah.
So,
And
what advice would you give someone who's just found out that they have fertility issues?
so I the first one is probably to give yourself a timeline. So some ladies, they will like, okay, I'm going to try naturally for how many months, then I'll go and check. And then after that, sometimes they will try IUI, like, okay, let me do IUI for like 2 cycles, or maybe they'll skip entirely. But I think giving yourself a timeline helps. So like I told myself that, okay, I will do one more round, or you can tell yourself X number of rounds of cycles, then maybe I'll stop. If really it doesn't help, then I will stop. So I told myself that this cycle, if I don't succeed, then I'm going to stop. That's one. So having a timeline also helps, and it helps in a way for me. I'm a planner, so I need to have a timeline.
So you
And
can focus.
yes, and then at least I know I'm not like just trying forever and ever and then not doing anything. So for me, I felt that like before I went for my second stimulations, I tried for one whole year again when TCM, the in fact I tried very hard. I took my temperature every morning. Went for HSG test, then I realized, oh, my tube was cleared. Yeah, so I thought, okay, this is a chance to try naturally, and so give yourself a timeline. I think that helps, and maybe how many cycles do you want to do, and then basically really not giving up. I think really trying your best to or the best to your ability. So it's like, that if you have embryos, just use it and try it. I know it's difficult to keep going through. Sometimes it's very frustrating because I failed 2 frozen transfers. So I was like, I don't want to go through the whole thing again. I don't like the 2 weeks wait. They call it, the
Right.
once you put the embryo in, there's this 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't like that because I keep thinking and thinking of all the symptoms, and then they're like, am I pregnant? Am I not? And then
TWW. I know.
yeah,
I know. I remember now. TWW.
yeah, yeah, not TWG.
Yeah.
So I really didn't like that. I think that in the whole journey, right, I really don't like that stage where I have that 2 waiting weeks, just that you don't know what is happening. I wish I knew, you knew quickly whether it's going to be positive or not. So
Right.
sometimes it's just having the resilience and not giving up and just trying again. Because I've also heard of many really success stories where after how many cycles they finally conceive. But of course, everyone's different. So
Yeah.
maybe some people may just say, okay, I'm just going to stop here and not go on. And I think
But I don't think that's common, right? Because most people, if they decide to do this, that people like yourself, people like Rohaida, and all other women that I've met, you are going to see this through. When you decided to embark upon this journey, you're going to go. You're not going to give up just because of some little hiccups along the way, right?
Yeah, that's why I say women are strong. Exactly. You just keep going. And I think you have to just try. Yeah. So I told myself I needed to try also. I needed to just try and then hope for the best, really pray for the best, that somehow the whole everything is aligned, everything in the universe is aligned for you for that cycle.
Yeah.
And just really have that really being brave and courageous in that journey, because you never know. I mean, you never know that even something positive might come out from that journey. And each stage is really building character as well.
And definitely resilient.
Mm-hmm.
Well, someone just asked, well, we'll take one last question. Do you know that we've been talking for 58 minutes?
Does it feel like it?
Yeah, I know. I'm learning new things every day. So how many transfers have you done altogether?
So it will be considered as 4 transfers. 4 transfers. So second transfer, that was a positive transfer. Each time I put 2 embryos in, and so I actually put 8 embryos in total. And then there's only 2 so far. I've like the first one, and then this current pregnancy. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, thank you so much for sharing. I know sometimes it's not easy to share your story, and it's great that I think you have this huge support group. I've spoken to quite a few of the members, and I'm in awe of you guys. I'm like, wow, it's just such strength. So I want to thank you for sharing with Mother's Work and our followers, because I think it's not easy, and really it shows the strength that you women I'm going to try and claim we women, but you women, you IVF warriors go through to become mothers. I think it's amazing. Thank you, Grace, for
Thank you
sharing.
so much for having us, and we really also wish everyone who is going through this journey that one day you will be able to share your story as
Yeah.
well.
Yep. And we're here to listen. All right. Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Thank you
Good
so
night.
much.
Thanks.
Bye.
I'll catch you later, Grace. Before you pop, yeah.
Bye.
See you. Bye.